Well, friends, it's time to start looking at some Hoover Vortexes. Vortex-I, Vortexes, some Hoover Vortex. It's time to start looking at these Hoovers. So this video has been a long time coming. If you remember back a few months when I got my large vac haul from Ritchie, I got two Vortexes in that haul. One of them was a V2000 and one of them was a V2001. Now my intention at the time was to use one to make a good one. So it was unlikely I'd be able to have two machines survive that process because, well, the V2000 was not great. It was missing a lot of stuff, the handle was cracked, and it just really wasn't, I want to say it wasn't worth saving, and in actual point of fact, it really wasn't worth saving. That particular machine actually got scrapped, and it donated its parts to this V2001, which is one of the machines that I got from Ritchie. Now this V2000 is one that I actually found on eBay and bought separately because it was in such good nick, and I thought, oh yeah, that's the perfect one to use for this little Vortex-a-Thon series that I've been working on. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these machines in detail, not side by side because we don't really need to, but we're going to start with the V2000, and then the next video we'll be looking at the V2001. So I think we should crack on and check out the first ever Hoover Vortex. Okay, so we've lost the V2001 and we are going to focus this particular video on the original Vortex V2000 machine from 1999. That's when they were first launched. It's really funny to think now that 21 years later, you don't see many Vortex machines. In fact, you don't see many of any of them, and there were a lot. I was having a conversation with my friend Matthew on Facebook the other day. He's got lots of them, more than I have, and all the different colours that they came in. And it's funny to think that you just don't see them now. You just don't see them. They've all gone. Hoover didn't sell a massive amount of them, and because there was that court case with Dyson as well. I think that was late 99 into 2000, I think, where Dyson was suing Hoover over patent infringement, which I sort of touched on in the previous video where we're looking at the triple vortex system itself. So basically, back in 99, Hoover launched the V2000 first. This one is essentially the same as the V2001, but the V2001 has S-class filtration on it, whereas V2000 just has a normal filter. It's based upon the Hoover Pure Power, which was launched in 1997, and under the skin of this machine, it's, well, 80% Pure Power, around that. It looks different to the Pure Power machines, but they share the same style of chassis, the same style of motor, the same style of lower body. Obviously this is all completely different from Pure Power, but from here down it is essentially the same cleaner. So that's quite sensible really, because you think the development cost of making a new vacuum cleaner, you basically take what you've already got, reuse that, chop it and change it, restyle it into something else, and you've got a whole new range. Now this particular machine was manufactured in the 18th week of 1999. So it is very, very early in the run. So the 18th week of 99 would make it January, February, March, mid-April of 99. So it's unusual to see one that's so early and to see one that is in such good condition. These didn't survive well. As you saw in the triple vortex video, the cyclone system is very poor, and it just lets all of the dust through the cleaner into the motor gets stuffed up, and it just gets absolutely knackered. In fact, the other V2000 machine that I scrapped, it was so bad that the lower motor bearing had just completely smashed. It was in multiple pieces, and it's very rare to see a bearing do that now. You see it occasionally. Normally the motors will burn out before the bearings break up. It's really odd to see. I did actually manage to save that motor, which was a surprise. I took the original smashed lower bearing out, put a new one in, because it's the same bearing that's used in the turbo power motor. And you can kind of understand why they would fail so bad. The turbo power motor is spinning at 18,000 RPM at full speed. This, I dread to think, it must be 30 to 40,000 RPM. It's got to be something crazy, because it's it's working really hard in this cleaner. If you think about the airflow path of this, and this is one of the reasons why Vortex is not a particularly good vacuum cleaner, is because it doesn't move that much air, and it doesn't have particularly good suction, because in use, because of the complex cyclone mechanism, because it's got the external hose which you can stretch out, and it's got the filters that block up, the motor has to work incredibly hard to move any airflow at all. It's really bad. It is quite funny, the fact that the motor has a thermal overload control trip on it, and you would just think to yourself, how did it ever get to the point of really continuing to work? I mean, it would have to be so hot to trip that, but they very rarely did. And in fact, if you use them for any extended period of time, especially one that hasn't been serviced or been maintained well, the body gets so hot. Like down here, this bit here where the motor is, and at the back, it just gets so hot you can barely put your hand on it. It's very, very poor. Now, for its time, I will say that Vortex was a very well equipped vacuum cleaner. You can see what Hoover were doing when they were trying to beat Dyson. The cat's back again. And they were trying to go for this idea of no bag, no filter replacement, no problems. And this idea of no problems is just insane, because it was fraught with problems. The pre-motor filter on these cleaners is it's a tiny little bit of thick sponge. It's coarse sponge. And the idea is, because the cyclone is so efficient and it's a triple system, that nothing should ever get through it. Oh no. We'd never see the case where dust actually got through the cyclone. But of course it did, because over time the cyclone loses its efficiency. The shrouding up inside in here gets blocked up, the airflow reduces even further, and all of the dust starts to go through. Now, you couldn't put a fine filter on this cleaner, because it would just block up like that. You do a couple of passes back and forth, the dust would all go through, it would go onto the filter, and it would just completely block up. It's just such a poor idea. So they put this thick, coarse foam in there, and over time, as the dirt and the dust and the hair were going through the cyclone and collecting onto this coarse filter, the filter would collapse. And because the airflow is pulling it down from underneath, you'd end up with, it would start like that, and then over time it would just shrink down, so you'd have less and less filter. And of course, people don't read the instruction books or anything like that. They take no notice of all that stuff, so they're carrying on, they're using. The machine's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, more and more dust and dirt is going through, collecting on the motor, collecting on the fans, throwing the whole thing out of balance. And then of course you just end up with a massive kaboom where the bearing goes, or the motor burns out because it's got so hot. The other thing on this is that on this particular machine, you see here, this has got a white filter at this point. Now I just want to take this out actually because I haven't looked at this yet, and I have a feeling that this may be a replacement filter. So to access the dirt collection bin, this is quite cool actually. I will say this is nicely thought out, because at the time we had the Dyson DC-04. You had to take the cyclone off the front, you had to take the cyclone apart, you get a whole puff of dust, it goes in your face, on your clothes, in your hair. This is nice and neat. It probably works because the Vortex didn't really pick up much dirt anyway, as you'll see when we come to run it. So there probably wasn't a great deal of dirt in there anyway. But you slide this over like so, and the whole bin drops down, and then you can just take it out like that. Now that's quite neat. I do like that. That is a nice idea. And then, as per the other video, we've got the shroud up here. Now at this point, we have the exhaust filter that's hiding under this panel. Now, can I get this off even? Oh, that's interesting. Well, I've never seen that before. This is actually stuck on. Ooh, can I turn it in this? I think I can. Yeah, have I got that? Oh yeah, there we go. There, look, if I show you that, this is stuck on. So this is like a little base here that the bin sits on, thusly. I think it's to like stop vibration. But I've never seen one with that stuck on. Normally this just comes off, you can take it off. It's going to be really interesting to try and get that back on actually. To put it like that, I'm just sort of lining it up before I do it. Yeah. So this is, that's interesting. Look at that, okay. So that's the exhaust filter from the V2000. And it has like, it's kind of like foam. So it has a foam inner. There we go, so it's got like a coarse, thick, not coarse, sorry, a thick foam inner. And then it just has like this, I'm not sure what you'd call it. It's like a microfilter, basically. It's a microfilter kind of coating that runs around the outside. So you end up with this little donut. I must admit, from looking at this from the outside of the cleaner, I thought this was like an aftermarket replacement, but it's not. It's actually a genuine Hoover filter. So that's really cool. That's nice to have. And there's all like, I actually did blow this off. Oh dear. You see where the filters start to break down, you get dust everywhere, and now it's all gone up my nose and it's all itchy. But I have a filter here that I took out from the machine that was scrapped. And this just shows you how bad it gets. So when you leave it for a long period of time, let me move that out of the way. This is from the other V2000 that was scrapped. And you see all the dust that's just caked on the inside. I don't think I can take this out because it's just one, yeah, this is one solid filter that's just covered with dust. It's not great. This is just going to go in the bin. I just saved it to show you. I think this is the later style of filter where it's just one complete foam unit. And the reason I say that is because the other machine, the V2000 that I scrapped, was from the 34th week of 99, which coincidentally is exactly the same week as the V2001. So those two machines were manufactured in exactly the same week. It's very odd. Very odd. There's two random cleaners that were made at exactly the same time. There we go. So this filter is in great shape. As you can see, it's all nice and white. So we're going to put this section back in. I'll pop that back in. I think this particular Vortex has had very little use over its life. It is in remarkable shape, actually. It's there's hardly any scratches. I haven't cleaned this at all. There's no marks or dents to the body. It is, yeah, quite shocking. So I'm going to put this back on now. So you put the cage cover, you put the cover back on. This could be interesting. Hang on, is that the right way around? I've got to try and think now. You can see why they made the top section removable, because it's very hard to rotate this catch. There we go, got it. With this stuck in place. So yeah, that's probably a later change where they made this a removable cover. That's what it's like on the V2001, which I'll show you when we get to it. Then you slide the bin back in like so and rotates, it moves up and then it seals in place. So there we go. Now I can get rid of this now, so that can go in the bin. I showed you that. So that can go. Let's rotate this bad boy back around. So yeah, I mean, in conclusion, what do we conclude about this vacuum cleaner? Well, I think we can say A, it was a very bad idea. B, it was a bad idea that was produced badly. I mean, you know, it's poor. It's very poor. However, on the plus side for the original Vortex, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I have to say, for my money, this is a very handsome vacuum cleaner. The whole design of it is really nice. I love this sort of light grey colour to it. I love the orange accents. It sets it off beautifully. It's very much of its time. You look at it and you say, oh, it's 90s. It's absolutely a 90s cleaner, released in 99. So they probably would have started design work on it, what, probably 96, 97. You know, when they had Pure Power out, they knew they could reuse the chassis. Yeah, it is handsome. It's nice to use as well. This D-shaped handle, let me bring this down so you can see it. This D-shaped handle is really nice because you can vary where you hold the cleaner. It's perfect for all heights of people. You know, that's just great. That's really nice. And the fact that it's got a flex winder on it as well. It's very rare to find upright cleaners with that feature. Very, very rare. I don't see it often. And certainly now, I don't think there's any. I suppose there might be some obscure machines somewhere that have a flex wind on them, but I honestly can't think of one. It's such a shame. It's such a shame because this could have been brilliant. It could have been brilliant. And I think Hoover did themselves out of a market leader if they hadn't bothered to try and create that ridiculous triple vortex cyclone system, and they hadn't tried to get around Dyson's patents, and they've just gone for the single cyclone with a pleated filter where the shroud is, like the later Vortex machines, the Vortex, the Hurricane, the Whirlwind. It could have worked. It could have worked. I mean, it wouldn't have been the most efficient thing in the world, but it would have been better than the original cleaner. Now I'm going to lay my money on the line here, and I'm going to say that in the future these machines are going to be valuable. I reckon so. Time makes things valuable because as time moves forward, there's less and less of certain things in the world, and as people grow up, they recall what they had when they were young and they want them again. So this turn of the century vacuum cleaner, I mean, right now, yeah, it's pretty rare now, to be honest with you, to find a working original Vortex is pretty hard, but they don't command a lot of money. You know, they're probably reasonable money. I think I paid £55 for this one, and this is in particularly nice shape. But give it 10 years time, give it 10 years, when this is 30, it'll be 30 years old in 10 years time. This will be worth some money and it will be a proper collectible vacuum cleaner. So my advice to you is, if you can find them now, get them. Because just look at the turbo power. When I think back to I scrapped so many turbo powers back in the 90s because they were worthless. They were 10 a penny. They were everywhere. You'd see them every day. The shop I worked in, you'd have 5 turbo powers in at any one time to be looked at and fixed and or scrapped, and they were worthless. They were absolutely worthless because they were just a common vacuum cleaner of its time. But now, 25 to 30 years later, if you find a really nice turbo power, and I sold some recently, as you know, on eBay, and they went for good money. You know, it's really quite surprising. Even the ones that weren't mint, that weren't absolutely perfect, they went for a decent amount of cash. And I honestly think that's what's going to happen to this cleaner. In many ways more so because turbo power sold millions. There were millions of them made. You know, I don't think that's an excessive statement. There were millions. They sold, God, an unbelievable amount. But the original V2000 Vortex, and to maybe a lesser extent the V2001, they sold nowhere near that. Nowhere near. Because, remember, when Dyson won the court case, they had to stop making it. They had to stop. This cleaner was probably only made for a year, 18 months tops, absolute tops, 18 months. So there's not that many of them. And I think this will be a proper copper bottom, classic, collectible vacuum cleaner. But anyway, that's enough of me waffling on. I think it'd be nice to take this into the lounge and give it a run. And we'll see how it performs, or rather, doesn't perform. It ain't great. I'm looking forward to showing you the suction power on the V2001 because I know how bad that is. But yeah, we'll look at that soon. So yeah, there we go. We're going into the lounge now. Thank you ever so much for watching. My usual normal waffly nonsense about vacuum cleaners. Don't forget to do the usual comment, subscribe, like. It really helps me out and I appreciate it so much. And if you've got any stories about the Vortex, if you have a collection of them, if you have multiple versions of them, let me know. It's always good to hear from you. So until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye. One thing I forgot to mention in the overview video is that the flex winder on this particular machine doesn't grip the cable anymore, so I need to take it apart and fix the brake on it. So we have to come up with an inventive way of making the flex stay out. So I have a plan for this. I haven't actually tried it yet, but let's get some cable out. We'll stand up, Vortex neck. It's not easy. So I think what we'll do is take a clothes peg, put it around like that, and then hopefully that will keep the flex out. Nice. And now that we're done with our cleaning, we don't even have to press a button to retract the flex. Just take off the peg and oh, that's interesting. The brake sort of came back then. How odd. It's typical Hoover. Isn't that weird? It's fixed itself. Oh well, okay. Well, there we go. Flex winder working again. Yay! I must say, we didn't do too bad with the dust pickup. We've got a nice ball of cat fur there. There's all the oats. Let's see if we've got anything in the middle. Oh yeah, look at that. So there's lots of fine dust down in the middle there. So yeah, it's actually working. It's not too bad at all. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if the 2001 does any better than this. I don't think it will. This 2000 seems to have more suction than the 2001 has. But there we go. Video over. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.